Hi guys, welcome to episode 3 of the 100 here on Press Start the Game. We'd love to have you back. Hope you've enjoyed the previous two. I've tried to make this one a bit shorter because I think they are a bit too long. 35 minutes is a long time to listen to me prattle on about games that I like that no one else has really heard of. But thanks for, being there. I appreciate it. If you're ever in town, I'll buy you a drink. Got some quality Obscura this time. I hope there's some things you were really interested in playing and hopefully it'll inspire you to go out and play these games for yourself. Stay tuned because there'll be a competition at the end to win some official PSTG merch, so brace yourself for that bad boy. In the meantime, grab yourself a cuppa and enjoy episode 3. Thanks a lot, guys.
60.
Game 60 is the home conversion of an Atari arcade machine. It's Paperboy. Now, this is an Amstrad game, and it looks beautiful, but listen. What do you notice? Just take a second. That's right, there's no friggin' music. Limitations at the time. It got re-released. I think Spectrum had 2 versions, one with, one without music, but on the Amstrad for some reason it looks amazing, but there's no sound. And I'm fine with that because it probably would have sounded like arse anyway. But enough about that. Let's get your little boy on his BMX to deliver papers. The object of the game is to shoot a newspaper into the newspaper box labelled Sun. Failing that, shoot it at the front door. What you don't want to do is hit something, get hit by a car, personal experience, I know that sucks, or run out of papers, which is a nightmare scenario. What you do is if someone hasn't got a subscription, you have to absolutely bomb their house and smash their windows to teach them a lesson. Each level ends with a little, like a BMX park with ramps and targets to hone your paper skills. I recently had the pleasure of playing the Mega Drive version of Paperboy, and it was painful. It was actually worse than this. Check out, emulate it, steal it off the internet, and play the Mega Drive version, and then come back and play this one, which is brilliant!
59.
Second Sight is a game I played back in the day on the GameCube, although it was available on the PS2 and Xbox as well. It was developed by Free Radical, who also made the Timesplitter series, and it's quite obvious because if you look at it, the art style between Second Sight and Timesplitters is quite similar. Everyone looks oddly simian. It's a third-person action adventure stealth 'em up. The game starts with you, the protagonist, John Vatic, trapped in an asylum. You start off the game very vulnerable, almost naked, no powers, no guns, trying to sneak your way through a hospital. And after a while, you develop telekinetic abilities and other psychic abilities, so you start off being able to move things with your mind. Periodically, there are flashback levels, which are much more action shooter in design. You have no powers, you just run around and shoot stuff and hide from guards. So eventually your psychic abilities allow you to go back into the past and change things to secure a better future. Although, spoilers, it turns out that what you're seeing in the future is only a possible future, and all the flashbacks in the past are actually the present. Spoilers. Quite a nice little narrative to wrap around what is essentially a quite simple third-person shooter game. It's not available digitally, so if you want to play it, you have to get down to your local game shop and grab a copy. In order of excellence, it is GameCube, Xbox, and then PlayStation 2.
58.
Star Wars Shadow of the Empire was a launch title for the N64. It was an original story that takes place between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and stars new characters. You are Dash Rendar, the pilot of the Outrider, kind of like a Han Solo wannabe. The opening stage features a battle on Hoth and sees you controlling a snowspeeder. Now this is quite misrepresentative of the game because the rest of the game is a third-person shooter, but unfortunately it does none of those things well. The camera's kind of annoying, the shooting is random, you auto-aim maybe if you're lucky, and the platforming is unbearably difficult. It was a launch title, it was Star Wars, so naturally I was all over it, and of course seeing this running in the shop blew my mind. I had to have it. And this opening Hoth battle, it genuinely is amazing, and it was only bettered by Rogue Squadron much later in the N64's life, which does everything that this does better, except the run and gun sections, which it doesn't have. But it's a fun little expansion to the best Star Wars movies, 4, 5 and 6. Came out sometime later on PC, and I think is available on Steam now as we speak. So if you fancy it, have a go. If not, it emulates really well, as you can see.
57.
Binary Domain on the PlayStation 3 is a game that I freaking love. I love it so much, in fact, that I've recorded a complete playthrough, which is on this channel, and I made its own standalone video. Brilliant. Love it. It's from Sega. It's a third-person shooter. Well, it's been like a lot of these so far on the list, on this episode. Some of the things I like about it, it's audacious choice to have only like 3 enemies repeated throughout the entire game. Brilliant, and it's like the same 3 or 4 robots you spend time shooting. It's quite incredible. It's got hilariously macho protagonists, a crazy convoluted story about how robots are people or not people. Who decides? Who made you God? And it's a really cool feature where you could hook up a mic and control it with your voice. You can tell your squad mates what to do. Go there or cover or things like that. It was alright. Or you could answer simple questions, yes or no. It's criminal how overlooked this game was, both at the time and now. It's a goddamn masterpiece, no joke. Picking your way through a destroyed Tokyo, shooting robots in the face and taking on a giant mecha. I generally don't understand why this isn't a franchise and why there aren't another 5 games in the series, or at least an HD remake of this, because I would buy that in a goddamn second. Binary Domain is in like my top 10 best games of all time. Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
56.
Metal Gear Solid Ghost Babel on the Game Boy Color is an interesting one. It's interesting in that the gameplay is a mix of the original MSX Metal Gear games and Metal Gear Solid. And unlike Metal Gear Solid, it's not one giant sprawling map. Each section is broken down into stages. So you play a stage, you get ranked, you play another stage, you get your ranking, which does break up the flow of the game a little bit, but then it makes sense based on the machine it's being played on. You see, you're not really supposed to play a Game Boy Color for 8 straight hours like you would a PlayStation or a PlayStation 2 or one of the home consoles. It's been designed around the portability of the machine. It's a nice concession to the machine it's being played on. So it's a usual Metal Gear Solid nonsense storyline. Some breakaway republic has taken over an entire country and started to build some sort of Metal Gear device and threatening nuclear Armageddon. And it's up to you, Solid Snake, who is taken at gunpoint from your Alaskan hideaway by Colonel Campbell, to come here and once again infiltrate, sneak about and blow stuff up. It's a hard game to find now, so maybe emulation's your best bet, but I really like it. Even though it's not really canon, it's kind of like its own little pocket Metal Gear Solid story. It's a very playable game. Highly recommended. Check it out.
55.
This is Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast, which sees Sega's famous Blue Blur fully realised in 3D. It was a goddamn revelation, a landmark in the series. But it wasn't that well received. If I remember at the time, people found a lot to nitpick about the game, and some of the complaints are justified. There are stages which grind to a halt, which is really weird for a Sonic game. You're supposed to be running and going fast, but there's some stages which require exploration and like fetch quests. in a Sonic game. But when it works, it really works. And this is the opening stage. Blasting across yet another Sega blue sky, a blue ocean, and being chased by a killer whale. Now, I remember my best mate at the time was round my house. We were playing this together, and he just couldn't believe what he was seeing. The being chased by the killer whale was, it's a real watershed moment for gaming. It was amazing. The game looked and played brilliantly, of course, because it would, because the Dreamcast, as I said in an earlier video, is like having an arcade machine in your house. And it was a real treat to see Sonic blasting around. The game had a pretty cool feature where, using one of the Dreamcast memory cards, you could raise like a little Tamagotchi thing called a Chow or a Cow or something like it. CHAO. And you could, in-game, go to your Chow kindergarten or like your creche and choose a Chow and upload it to your memory card and then take the memory card away and play with it and bring it back and it would have improved its stat. I don't know. It's really weird but super fun and a really nice addition to the first 3D Sonic game.
53.
Freedom Fighters is a 2003 GameCube game made by IO Interactive, who also made the Hitman series. And it's yet another third-person shooter. It starts out, as all best games do, with a plumber. You're a plumber and you go to check on a client and all of a sudden Russia invades the US. It turns out that this game is in a parallel universe where the Russians won World War II, kind of, by dropping a nuke rather, on Berlin, and they won the war. And then they became a global superpower, and this is them taking over the States. And it sees you, as Chris, lowly plumber, suddenly promoted to the role of freedom fighter. The stages are kind of open world-ish, with objectives to achieve. So at any one time, you'll have 2 or 3 maps, and you'll go to one map and you do something in that map, which will allow something else to happen in another map. For example, in the first map in New York, if you go and blow up the fuel tanks, that will take out a bunch of snipers. So when you go over to the police station map, you can sneak in easily and undetected. An interesting feature is the charm gimmick. Basically, throughout the game, you do good deeds and you increase your charm level. And the more charming you are, the more people you can enlist to your cause. So at the beginning game, you're on your Todd, but after doing a few good deeds for local resistance members, you can have 2 or 3 guys following you around, helping you out on the missions. There was no sequel. Instead, IO Interactive decided to make Kane and Lynch, and we all know how that turned out. Brilliant. Good choice, guys.
52.
Bloody hell, it's another third-person shooter. I really should have quality checked the randomization of the titles, but never mind. Here we are with our 83rd third-person shooter for this episode. It's Siphon Filter for the original PlayStation, which sees you control Gabriel Logan, a man who runs like he's shat his pants. It's a pretty fun little espionage thriller. Basically, a deadly bioweapon called Siphon Filter is in the hands of some rather naughty people. So it's up to you, Gabe Logan, and your friend Long Jing to find it and preferably destroy it. It spawned a fair few sequels. There were 3 main entries on the PlayStation, all of which are brilliant. Probably 2's the best. And there was a PSP game, or a couple on PSP. One of the highlights of the game is the taser, which you can use to either incapacitate the terrorists, or you can keep your finger pressed on the button, and eventually they'll catch fire. It's genius. Such a good game. Except for the whole, pant-shitting animation.
51.
20 years ago, Konami still made good games. And this is one of them. This is Deadly Skies on the Dreamcast. It was known as Air Force Delta in all the other countries, but in Europe we called it Deadly Skies. There's also an Xbox release of the game, but it's not as good. I don't know, there's just something about it. It's not as good as the Dreamcast version. As you can see, it's visually stunning, and that's in no way ironic. It's 3D buildings mapped on textured lands. It looks glorious. I really like getting low and dodging between buildings and ducking under bridges. That's so fun. One of the cool things is the sheer amount of craft you can buy, and personal favourites, of course, the A10 Tank Killer, which handles surprisingly well considering its size. And what else? The Tomcat, so you can relive your Tom Cruise Top Gun glories in the game. Not very realistic, as you can see. My aircraft carries about 50 missiles, which is cool, but not very realistic. So you buy new craft by making money in game, and you make money by shooting down the enemy. And if you shoot them with your cannon, and they explode, you get twice the bounty. So that's pretty good. So it encourages you to get in close and have a nice tight dogfight with them. Way fun. Just one of several console-based flight games that I really, really love.
$50.
Here we are with another perfect home conversion of an arcade game. House of Dead 2 for the Sega Dreamcast. Best in the series. House of Dead 1 is solid, old school charm. This one is arcade light gun perfection. 3, gimmicky, not as fun. Plays it too seriously, plays it too straight. 4 is kind of gimmicky. They try and mess with the formula, not as good. I was in Japan back in December and I played a new one. I played House of Dead Scarlet Dawn. And that's really, really good. It's proper classic, super cheesy camp House of Dead light gun action. Brilliant. Can't recommend that one enough. Yeah, so for now we're talking about 2. Also came out on the Wii as part of the 2 and 3 bundle. So if you want to play it, that's your best bet. Play it with the Wii Zapper. It's pretty friggin' magical. So the storyline of House of Dead 2 is a direct continuation of House of Dead 1, unsurprisingly. Agent G from the first game was investigating reports in Venice when all of a sudden he goes missing. And it's up to you and a mate to go and find him. And once you get there, it's all chaos. Zombies line the streets. Everything's gone horribly, horribly wrong. So you load up your 6-shooter and you start indiscriminately blasting things. Needless to say, 5 credits. Shooty, shooty, bang, bang, and all is right with the world again. Or is it? It depends. Multiple endings, depending on how you performed, credits used, scores attained. Oh wait, I forgot about Overkill. House of the Dead Overkill on the Wii. That's a belter too. Not as good as this. Why isn't House of Dead Overkill on the list?
49.
Yet another light gun game. I swear I have played more than third-person shooters and light gun games in my life. Might have shot my bolt with light gun games and third-person shooters. Or have I? 2 more episodes to tune in and find out. This is Time Crisis on the PlayStation. 1995 from Namco. Came out with the excellent GunCon controller. Nice big chunky grey plastic light gun. Plugged into your S-Video cable, which is quite exciting. I remember this vividly playing this on holiday when I went up north to see my family in Carlisle. Good times. I remember a particularly fun thing we used to do was set it so it was in German and we would pretend we were shooting Nazis. Shooting Nazis, again, we've discussed this in the past. That's the best thing to do with a Nazi. Alongside the main arcade game, there's also like a little story mode with a branching storyline, which, depending on your performance, dictates where you go and how the story's going to end. This game, along with Point Blank, spent a lot of time in my PlayStation.
48.
That's my Wario impression. WarioWare Twisted is part of the WarioWare franchise, but it never came out here. For some reason it skipped Europe, maybe just the UK. It came out in the States and in Japan, and its central gimmick was you played the game by tilting your Game Boy Advance left and right. Within the cartridge itself was a little like a mercury switch or some sort of tilt switch. Depending on how far you tilted to left or right, that sent a signal back to the game itself, and that dictated what happened on the screen. So there's some pretty fun games where you are shaving a man's face, and they are thematic, and my favourite ones are the little retro gamer kid ones, so like little mini retro games you're playing by tilting your Game Boy Advance left and right. It's utterly amazing. I do not know why this never came out here. I don't understand. There are loads of myths around it. Like, one of the reasons people think it's because there was mercury in it and the European Union, or I don't know, whoever dictates health and safety said, no, you can't have that, it's mercury, kids will drink it and die. I got mine from Japan. It's pride of place in my collection. If you're interested, you can play this yourself. You can emulate it. There's a patch available, so you can patch the ROM and you play it as you would a normal game, left and right on the controller. Obviously, that's nowhere near as fun.
47.
Chibi-Robo is a 2005 GameCube game. Came out in Japan and America. Now, apparently it came out in Europe. I don't remember this because mine was in a US import. I had to use a boot disc. I had to use a region-free disc to be able to play the game. Chibi-Robo sees the Sanderson family give little Jenny Sanderson a Chibi-Robo for her birthday. Now, a Chibi-Robo is a little tiny robot that's designed to make human life easier. So it runs around, it cleans up, and that's about it really. It cleans up around the house. Along the way, it transpires that not everything is hunky-dory in the Sanson family. In fact, that it's quite a fractured family. The child regresses into like this infantile state where she wears a frog hat and will only talk in frog speak. She won't relate to other humans at all. The father is obsessed with junk and tat and spends all his money on that, and is obsessed with Drake Redcrest, this fictional sci-fi show. The mother is bored and neglected. And so after a while it becomes you not only clearing up around the house, but actually clearing up their relationships. You're repairing these broken human beings. It's really good, full of whimsy. It's the heartwarming tale of a little robot just trying to make everyone happy.
46.
Right, now, children, we've got time for a quick history lesson here. This is a computer game. You play it by typing things. There was mouse support, but it didn't really do anything. It just told you where the guy could walk to. You could walk somewhere, but you'd still have to type pick up rock. This is Space Quest. Now, the Space Quest series was my introduction to point-and-click games, but back in those days, they weren't called point-and-click, they were called parser interface games. You typed what you wanted to do. So, for example, here, Roger Wilco, the protagonist, gets out of the craft and you type look and it gives you an explanation of what's around you. So your movement is controlled by the arrow keys, and interacting with things is done entirely by giving instructions. It's very much the link, the halfway point between full text adventures and point-and-click. Space Quest 1 is entirely text-based. But from 3, 4, 5 and 6 onwards, it became much more mouse-driven. And then, of course, we got towards things like Monkey Island and the Scum adventures by LucasArts. This is a pretty fun game, so I definitely remember playing this with my dad. I had no idea what was going on because I hadn't played this sort of game before, and he was giving me hints. He was coaching me on how to play it, what I should be looking for, and how I should interact with things. Yeah, it's quite fun. They're all on GOG. You can get the entire 1 to 6 for about $5 or so. It was on sale recently. I picked them all up again, had a play. Brilliant, so good. But it's not for everyone. If you don't like reading and if you don't like typing, just stick to playing Call of Duty, mate. That's probably for the best. Leave this for the big boys.
45.
The Adventures of Batman and Robin is the greatest animated Batman series ever. Have you seen the recent ones? Horrible. And there's a really weird one where Batman had really big pouty lips. Really, really weird. But back in the 90s, The Adventures of Batman and Robin was where it was at. And this is a platform game from Konami. Spread across 8 levels, it sees you take control of Batman as you square off against his numerous foes. A pretty cool feature is at the start of every level you can choose your loadout, but you know, you don't really... You can carry everything, but that just makes cycling through your inventory a real tits banner. It's quite limited. Batman has 3 attacks. He can jump kick, he can punch, or he can crouch squat kick. One of the things I really like about it though is that, just like in the cartoon, if you see a guy with a machine gun, you can throw your Batarang at him, which stuns him, and then you can run in and finish off with a good old 1-2 punch combo. Brilliant. Highlights of the game, the fight with the Joker on the fairground is quite fun. On the roller coaster is pretty cool. Inexplicably, there's a quiz. I can't remember, level 4 or something. Level 4 ends with like a quiz. That's no joke. The boss is a quiz, a multiple choice quiz. It looks just like the cartoon. It's beautiful and really well detailed and nice big sprites, and the colour palette is all the same. Really good job of capturing the cartoon in a video game.
44.
Now, Rhythm Tengoku, or Rhythm Heaven, as it's known over here, is an odd one. I love it because it's inventive, it's charming, it's fun. It's a really cool, simple idea, perfectly realised. I absolutely detest it because I am crap. I am hopelessly crap at this game. It's a rhythm game, but it's not just a rhythm game. It's hyper accurate to the nano millisecond accurate rhythm game. It is brutally unforgiving. Came out in Japan only, never had a Western release. Another interesting thing about this game is that it started out on the Game Boy Advance, and eventually, a year or so later, Sega made an arcade version of the game. So that's pretty fun. So a Game Boy game was ported to the arcade. So the game had numerous sequels which were ported over to the West. Rhythm Heaven Megamix and Rhythm Heaven and the Goblet of Fire and the Philosopher's Stone, I don't know. On the DS and 3DS, got releases over here. And yeah, it's all the same, more the same. Brutally difficult rhythm action that I am just really poop at.
43.
Back in the early 2000s, Nintendo had a console out called the GameCube, and it wasn't doing very well. So Capcom said, I know, we'll make a selection of 5 games exclusive to the GameCube, which will boost sales. Nintendo went, yes please! And the rest is history, because one of the games didn't come out. One of them was Resident Evil 4, another one was Beautiful Joe, another one was Killer 7. But this is PN03, that stands for Project Number 3. And it's a strange game in that no one seems to like it except for me. Another really weird thing, this game has got cult classic written all over it, but it really isn't. No one seems to care about this game at all. It's a really weird mix of rhythm and shooting. The game features you, Vanessa Z. Schneider, as an acrobatic shooty protagoness. The idea was to have a female character that would, you know, bring a bit of femininity to the game. And she does this by shaking her bum around constantly. So the idea is to go from room to room, destroying all the enemies in each room before getting to a big room with a big enemy at the end. You get bonuses for doing things quickly and not taking any damage, and you can use these bonuses to buy suits and weapon upgrades. It's kind of like a puzzle game in the way that Hotline Miami is a puzzle game, in that you have to do each room or each stage in a certain way. You have to kind of crack it, you have to work out what's expected of you and then do that thing. And this is very much the same. Criminally overlooked. Fun little blaster. Watch some playthroughs on YouTube or scour the internet and get up a copy.
42.
This little beauty is Drill Dozer. It's another Game Boy Advance game, and like WarioWare Twisted, it has a gimmick. This time, it has a little rumble pack built into the cartridge, so every time you fire up your drill, your GBA has a little shake, a little seizure. Cracking. It was made by Game Freak, a group of developers that no one's heard of before or since. Really weird lot. And it features Jill as the master and controller of the Drill Dozer. Turns out that you and your merry band of Drill Dozerers are just going around Drill Dozering your own business, when all of a sudden bad Drill Dozerers come along and steal your treasure. They steal the red diamond, and it's up to you to break into their headquarters, drill stuff, and get it back. There's puzzle solving, there's platforming, there's combat, there are bosses, and the bosses can only be defeated by exploiting their weaknesses with your drill somehow. You can power up your drill 3 times in each stage to make it do different things. So some materials require a stronger drill to get through, but oddly, between each stage you lose these power-ups and you go back to 0 at the beginning, which is kind of weird. It's a pretty big game. The levels are pretty sizable, and there are 17 stages in total. Yeah, again, oddly, no European release for this one. It came out on the Wii U or Wii Virtual Console, so you can play it that way, but if you want to play it handheld, I recommend you get a flash card and do it that way.
41.
Alright guys, here we are. Game number 41. Last in this episode. It's the original Animal Crossing. Now, this is the GameCube version. Now, there are some people out there who are going,
well, actually, technically, in Japan, it came out on the N64 first.
yeah, but that was shit. This is the original Animal Crossing, and it's still the best one, I'm sorry to say. Even though we've had like 24 other Animal Crossing games, this is still the best one. What does this one do that new ones don't? Well, in this one, you can play NES games in this one. You can find, or you can be given NES games to play in the house you own. There's Balloon Fight, I think there's Ice Climbers, there's a bunch of NES games in this game. Another cool feature is that you can hook it up to a Game Boy Advance, and that unlocks a whole extra island, Cappy's Island. You can get on a boat, sail across this island, and then play the game on your Game Boy Advance on this island. You get loads of fruit and other rare items. Then you take them back to your village on the GameCube and sell them at an inflated price. It's brilliant. But it's still the Animal Crossing you know and love. Buy clothes, buy a house, buy furniture, do errands for other people, make friends. One weird thing is, the fossil system here is really annoying. You have to send your fossils away to be appraised, and then they get sent back to you, and then you can give them to the museum. Blathers isn't capable of identifying your fossils, which does slow down the process quite considerably. That's the only downside to what is, unequivocally, the best Animal Crossing game. And there we have it. another episode of the 100 in the bag. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Alright, as promised, it's competition time! For a chance to win a Press Start to Game t-shirt, all you have to do is answer this super simple question. What is the greatest game of all time? What is the greatest game of all time? Simply leave your answer in the comments below, and the correct answer will be chosen when I can be bothered, and you'll be notified by direct message or something. So competition closes on the 23rd of June. Sure, why not? At 8 AM British summertime. Best, work that out for yourself depending on where you are in the world. So until then, I hope you look forward to episode 4. Just 2 to go. Brilliant. In the meantime, check out my Patreon page and my merch table page and my SoundCloud page. And now there is an Instagram page. There's an Instagram Press Start to Game page. It's Press Start _to Game or Press Start space to Game. And it's not as much focused on games. It's more about consoles and hardware mods and projects I'm doing at the moment. So if you have an interest in what the inside of a Mega Drive looks like, or how to reshell a Nintendo DS XL, head on over there and see what it's all about. I'd love to see you on there as well. Right, that's about all for episode 3. Massive thanks again. Don't forget the competition. Don't forget my Patreon. Oh God, stop saying that because people think it's real. There is no. That's the point. It's not. None of this is real. None of it. None of it is real. There is no Patreon. There is an Instagram. I don't really, subscribers, whatever. Essentially, this is for an audience of about 3 people. But those extra people, thank you so much for watching. I fucking love you. You mean the world to me. Never forget. Alright, I'll see you in episode 4. Keep on zapping the baddies.